Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy Daze, and you're about to watch Thorin rant for about 3 hours.
Right. Since, as you pointed out, your team of all the top teams had basically the hardest time just being in an org and just getting paid salary and just being able to get to go to the events. In fact, on some of the other reflections, I've even gotten them to tell the stories that a lot of people don't know. In this era, like sometimes you guys would just take like a 10-hour train when everyone else just flew like an hour and just got off and everyone's at the bar or what do you know, and you guys had to go by train all through Europe, etc. So you had harder conditions. There was this one brief period though when you first were in Meet Your Maker. Before later, people might know, Meet Your Makers was one of the first organisations to take in outside investment, so they had a lot of money. It's a bit like actually esports now, but the problem was, this is back actually right around the time there was that financial crisis and all the money in the world just went to shit because of the banks and stuff in America. So famously, their organisation eventually at the end didn't have the money to pay you. But there was that brief time period where I heard actually you were getting mega bucks. Like, there was one time where you were on some crazy salary just for a few, I guess it was what, 6 months or 3 months or so. There was a brief period where it seemed awesome, right?
I wouldn't say crazy salaries, but for the time being, like it was like a good salary, I would say. But I wouldn't say a crazy salary. Like the crazy salary were the guys from Warcraft getting. Like
right, I see. Like 10k a month or something. Sure, you're on. I'm going to guess like 2k or 1.5 or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
right.
That was difference to comparing to what we had before.
Sure.
But that was but still that was something much bigger to what we had before. So like we really appreciated to get that chance. Yeah, but unfortunately, like you say, the world crisis came and Meet Your Makers couldn't like make it work. And this is where the again team came back to life. And we started to look for another organization, and that I think that was the hardest period in our careers during the world crisis. Not only because we couldn't find the organization, but also we felt like the tournaments are like kind of lowering the prices.
They were. Yeah, true.
This was hard for not only for gaming, but for like ever in the world. It was the hard period. So
sure.
But we went through that as well as a team, and and somehow we stayed alive.
As you say, every time the team was in trouble, it pretty much won a major and sort of got the money and survived, right? Do you ever wonder if, like this time period you're talking about when the team became again, if your team didn't win like World Cyber Games or those tournaments and just had like, okay, would the team potentially have broken up, or would people have retired? What do you think they would do?
I have honestly no idea what the people would do, but it was a possibility that if we would not win some tournaments, the team could fall apart and everyone could go his own own way. You know, like probably NEO will easily find a new home. Maybe TaZ as well. Probably me and Kuben will have struggles because of the way it is, and there's no point to bring it back again here. But yeah, that was a huge possibility that it could happen, and that's exactly what happened in 2000. 2012, right? 2013. 2013.
Yeah.
That's what happened when CSGO first came out. Like we have been thinking about like what we're doing now, guys. Like, cause there is no real prize monies which we can put our hands on. The NIP was ahead of us anyway. They started much earlier to play the game. We had organization behind us which was supporting us, but they also had some problems during that time, and we were like really lost. Like, what we gonna do? Like NEO and TaZ were considering, okay, maybe we're gonna go and switch game to League of Legends.
Oh yeah, true.
They were really considering that. Like. Pasha was considering quitting esports as well. Like that was the time when he he like got married.
Oh yeah, and he did like
wife.
some job for his family. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, also Kuben decided that he don't fully want to continue. He wants to look for normal job. Like he went to Great Britain. He was working there for a while, and the team just fall apart. And like with the financial problems, we couldn't stick together. But I also think that was the period where team really needed the changes after.
Right.
After how long? Like it was 7 years.
Yeah.
They really needed a fresh like blood, and I think that like for NEO, for TaZ, for Pasha, what happened there, like that they had the opportunity to build the lineup with Snacks and Bialy was it was a good decision to move forward. Not especially for me, maybe, or for Kuben, but yeah, Kuben find his way back into the team. I did not, so yeah, here I am. Where I am.
It's all good. I'll ask a question about that later. Right, to rewind a bit, let's go back to this time period where the team became again, because obviously you guys won the World Cyber Games again. You actually like got another major, even though you actually had no org, which has got to be one of the most unique things anyone's ever done in CS. I don't know if anyone's ever done that before. I had no org and won a major. When you won this major, even though everyone remembers the final, I actually remember this whole tournament was really epic. Like even when you played the Finns, you had a super close game against it. There was a whole bunch of matches that were like 3 maps. It was like this for me. This one tournament was the one that was like a movie. Like even the ending of the movie, like again, it's like the same story as the one with NIP. It's a Fnatic supposed to win this. Fnatic's the team of the year. They've won everything else. Everyone, even though they all thought they're the favourites and they're supposed to beat you. What would you tell me? Was there something special about the team in this tournament? It seems like the way you guys played in the final was like you just couldn't lose. You just couldn't be beaten or something.
Wait. I'm getting close. Like we talking about the last IEM.
No, WCG 2009, the one against Fnatic.
That is okay. That one. Well, what happened there? We still played with Luke there, right? So
yeah.
Like we knew that we played under again. So like that was the same story as with many tournaments before. Like we had to prove someone that we are still capable of winning the tournaments to be able to find a home. So like that's the backstory of it. We like Fnatic was during that year. Fnatic was winning everything. The only thing which they were missing was the WCG final on the or like just a major, because if I'm not wrong, ESWC was
there was none that year. Yeah,
there was not in that year, so they had to win that one. And we felt like they were a bit cocky about how good they are, how easy they're gonna beat us, and we proved them wrong. Like we proved them that no, we're not gonna give you that trophy that easy. And yeah, this is also where I exploded again.
I have a question for you about that. Shall I ask it now? Should we do it? Right. So if people don't know, there's a notorious clip, another little clip back in the day.
Do what you want.
Yeah, which famously, I think it's epic because it's more like some out of UFC or something, mate. Like, it's kind of wild. Like, normally nerds don't do this. You lose the game. Normally everyone just politely shakes hands and then goes. Like, famously, you said, I even memorized it all. You went, so to yes, get right, kurva, which is basically like, what's up now or something, right? What happened? Why did you have some... Because if people don't know, the reason why this was a bit of a strange clip, Loord, is it'd be one thing if you lost and you said that. You just won the game and said that. So give me the backstory. What was the beef with Get Right?
Like I previously said, I am rather a calm guy, like normally, but
sure.
I was, at least when I was younger, I was much more, explosive and reacting when the emotions came to my head. And like I said, like we felt, not only myself, but the whole team felt that the Fnatic, they were really cocky about themselves, that they are the favorites here.
Sure.
They just came here to finish the job, but like I said, we're not gonna let you win that easy. Like that was our that was sitting in our heads. That was our approach to the game. Like we're not gonna let them win it. We're gonna prove you again, like that we are the boss here, not them. And like there's nothing much more behind it. Like there is no other reasoning why I did that. Like it was just pure emotions, like pure. I don't know. I had to again like throw my emotions away somewhere, like and like unlucky that Geralt was maybe staring at me at that
Sure.
point.
Because I was going to say, it wasn't Get Right.
Sounds strange,
It wasn't
right?
really him specifically, though, right? Because again, as far as I know, look, in his own way, he's cocky because he was a really good player. But as far as I know, he didn't like directly do anything to you, right? It was just he was the target in this case, right? Like you said, he was the wrong person looking, I guess, right?
Yeah, like it. Yeah, more like this kind of
Right.
thing. I later on tried to discuss it with him. That's a long story, but yeah, I didn't want it to hurt him. Like
Right.
that was
Okay.
just in-game emotions.
Right.
That was just a momentum. And you said we are nerds and we shouldn't like scream, but like I felt like our team were like a fighters inside
Sure.
of the nerds. So
Yeah.
so yeah, that's why it happened. Like we were fighting each other inside the team. So like why we cannot spread some emotions outside. Yeah, but it is what it is. CS was wild back in the days, and yeah, I like.
What's your story? Since we've obviously set up in this interview that within this team, people could have arguments and people could disagree, and maybe even people had fights where someone would get kicked or would have left, and it just didn't happen, right? What's the story as to why did Luke get kicked? Like, what was the big problem with him?
Well, let me think about it. I think that TaZ mentioned in his interview that Luke was kinda unpleasant to me or something like this. I think he mentioned that in your interview or somewhere else.
Something like
Maybe
that, yeah.
it wasn't. But never mind. But the real issue was the tension between TaZ and Luke, like through the whole the team period, like through the whole existing of the team. They were, I would say they were never friends outside of the game. They knew how to play each other, like on the server. There was not something like a bad blood between them, but you could just feel the tension between them all the time, and that I feel like that was the biggest issue we were facing. But also we felt like Luke was not delivering what we wanted him to deliver. He was he started to do some strange things in game, and we felt like maybe it's time to try someone new who will bring some more positive energy into the team, and like Pasha was the ideal option at that point. And like we decided that right after the tournament where Pasha was standing for TaZ, because TaZ couldn't come because of some studies exams or anything. I don't fully remember how was it, but Pasha came with us to WEM to China, like I think this is even where
it's the one where I did the raging video. Yeah, that's the same one.
That's the same one.
Yeah.
So like I think this is where we noticed that Pasha will bring a lot of good vibes into the team, and it will bring like freshness and we just felt like we need that change at that moment. Like it was not only because of the tension between TaZ and Luke, but that I feel like that was one of the reasons why it happened. Yeah, but the other reason is like obviously we felt like we need to to change something. Like we felt like with Luke we did everything, and WCG was like we need to put the line here,
Right.
and we need to move forward with
Yes.
someone new to make the team work again. Like that's how it was.
As you said, 2010, the following year, was the only year the team didn't win a major. But I want to set this question up. So we're not blaming Pasha in this scenario. He was obviously brand new to the top tier. He never played in these tournaments. So what I would say is this, Loord, like you described earlier, your team was also a team that didn't necessarily have like hard roles. Like people were doing different things on different maps or depending on who's calling what. And obviously the team had played together for a long time. And that was a strength. People know each other. They know they even instinctively know how someone's going to react to a situation. Obviously, the problem when you bring a new player in is they're not only not going to have those things, but as you've described, Pasha was also a very different type of player. Like, it's funny that CSGO fans will remember him on the mic and all his personality, because back then, this guy would have never come a million miles near a mic. Like, I don't think I ever spoke to Pasha in English ever in 1.6 Loord. Like, he was the guy in the group who in fact, he was even very shy back then. I hope people won't know this. Like, he wasn't this outgoing person. I'm very impressed with his transformation. But also, in-game, Loord, I have to say, in your team, like I say, it's like very nuanced. People have to know, like, what's this player next to me going to do and when are we going to go? I always felt like I said, he was like a bull in a china shop, as we say in England. That's the idiom, right? I remember rounds, dude, where this guy on Inferno, like, as the AWPer, would just run on T-side up Inferno on his own with, like, no utility. Like, if people don't know, in 1.6, like, you would never do that as the AWPer. You stay at the back, you get some flash for you peak. This guy was wild, so I imagine it must have been interesting, like, fitting around like you said about how people fit to NEO. You must have to reformulate the team to work with a player like this. And by the end of 1.6, the cool thing is, when you guys won those majors, he was really good, so it worked eventually. What would you say to this? What was it like to integrate Pasha? Who was this player back then?
Like you said, he was very wild as a player. Like, and it took us a while to adapt to what he is doing in game, and it took us also a while to properly discuss how we want him to play. Like, we had to limit his plays a lot because he was doing way too much of them. Like, during the round,
Right.
like he was all the time looking for some things to do. Like, he couldn't sit on one place for 2 seconds. And like I said before, like, this is where we had to adapt. We had to fill the gaps, mostly me and Cuban, because we had now such a mobile, aggressive player and AWPer at the same time. So it was hard to adapt to it at the very start, but eventually we find a way how to use Pasha like correctly, how to limit his plays, and also how to put him into the system we want to play the game. He started to also play more like responsible. Like, he started to do less of those things you mentioned before, like running down mid on Inferno with up in a hand.
Sure.
Like, yeah, like his reasoning behind it was that, yeah, guys, but this is something like no one is expecting.
It's true. That is true. Okay.
Yeah, like, yeah, that's true. But like, bro, like, you have
Sure.
you have the most expensive weapon in your
Sure.
head. Why will you go down, middle Inferno instead of holding an angle and let your rifles work around you? So that was a hard task we had to face to make the team work, but eventually it was worth it. Pasha learned a lot. He didn't fully change. I feel like even when I left and even when Virtus.pro played in CSGO, he was still that kind of. He still had that craziness inside of him,
Right.
in game. Like, he wasn't like a typical AWPer holding angles. He was a guy doing crazy moves, but he also learned with time. I had to admit that he learned with time. He learned how to use himself for the team, and yeah, that's it. But like, short story long, it was a hard task to like facilitate Pasha into ours, like make him work like under our system, and at the same time don't fully limit his his plays and try to implement it like in the way we are playing.
What do you think about the point I made about his personality? Like I say, if you'd have asked me in 1.6, list players who might one day be like a famous streamer, this guy wouldn't even be on the list, like I said, because I didn't even know he'd ever speak English or that he'd ever like to be on camera. And I actually thought by the end of CSGO, I mean, people have even seen now when he's done like MMA fights, it's actually amazing how he's like really like blossomed as a personality. And in fact, he even has like a funny sense of humor. I even think it's kind of cool that he sort of like, he knows like when to make himself, like in English, we say like the butt of the joke. Like essentially the joke's on him sometimes, like all those jokes he would make about having bad English and Pasha's London school and stuff. Like it's kind of amazing the transformation. So what have you thought of that? It must be different from the guy you were playing with 10 plus years ago, right?
Maybe a little bit, yes, but like he was from the very start he is very interesting personality. Like you cannot doubt that. Like he is a funny guy. He's also a very honest, straightforward guy who will tell you what he thinks straight into the face. He also, I feel like he has a good heart for like many, like he's a good person. Like he has a good personality, and at the same time he has that little bit of craziness inside of him. I think that's what people started to love about him, like that this is like he was himself most of the time. Of course, like you cannot be always yourself when you are a streamer. Like you need to sometimes act, let's say, or like do something for fans, but I think he deserved what he achieved. He is a good guy, humble guy, and nowadays he's also doing a lot of stuff for the Polish community.
Oh, sure.
Like the gaming counts, and like I don't know what to say more about him, but like I fully think he deserved what he achieved.
When you guys won the last World Cyber Games in 1.6, the one where you beat SK Gaming in the final, I have a question along these lines that's like a bigger picture question to ask, which is, when I said earlier in the interview that like once upon a time, Sweden was just the best country in Counter-Strike. They used to, whatever the top one or two Swedish teams are, they basically were always the favourite to win the major. Most of them did win the majors, like people like Heaton and stuff, won 1 million tournaments in their careers, obviously Forest, etc. There's a lot of successful players from that country. But the reason why in the latter days they actually didn't win that many majors was mainly your team. Like if you ever go and look, you guys were always the ones playing them in the final or the big semi-final. And my joke would be, even though those were supposed to be the best teams, it's like, you know, when there's someone's a little kid and the joke is if they're scared, they like look under the bed to see if there's a monster there. The joke is when Swedish teams look under, they must just see the golden five, because like this is a great example, because I remember this match, Loord. Funnily enough, this match actually ends on Tuscan in like an epic third map as well. It was like really close. I remember there were so many of these games where I would do like on SK Gaming, I used to do a feature that was a bit like a demo review. I would take the demo, I'd take like 3 key rounds, I'll break down what happened. And the amount of times your team won where it was like a situation where it's like it's like the key round, and actually maybe even the Swedish team's like in a good position to win, or they've got like a 3v2, or you know they've got the person trapped, and the amount of times your team would seem to get lucky but then win the game. And I can tell you, these Swedish players, it got in their head. They would just think like, are they lucky, are we unlucky, like what happens in these matches? Like, did you have a sense when you play these Swedish teams like you have something, some psychological edge on them or something? What do you think?
Maybe I didn't really sense that, but I feel like maybe we get into some individual players' head. I'm not gonna specify like which ones, but I feel like we did. Like, do you remember that game in Hanover where we beat the SK in the?
Oh, is this the famous one where everyone started crying afterwards?
Like with the video,
yes.
Like where Cuban started crying. Like you could clearly see how disappointed they were.
Yes.
Like like you could clearly feel that we were already in their heads. Like they were even in advantage to win the game.
Yes.
During the last map, and they couldn't close it out. And we won some ridiculous rounds. Like I remember one round where I was hiding on dust 2, like there was a screen position, like doesn't matter, close to shore. I remember that round. It was like 4-on-2, and they could have like 14 on the board, 14 round, and they even lost that one. So I don't want to know what
Sure.
what were they feeling
Sure.
after that game. Like they like literally had the game in their heads and they throw it
Yes.
away. So it could be true that we get into their heads somehow. But when it comes to WCG, the 2011, I mean, I don't really remember what the game that well. I really don't like. There we played against them so many games, like so often in so many different tournaments. That I don't fully remember that one. I
Fair
remember
enough.
I only remember that we played Tuscan as a decider, but
Yes.
I don't even remember how we managed to
Oh, it's all
like
good then.
win
Whatever.
that
I
one,
can ask
right?
you a different question. What about this then? I
Yeah,
actually also
go ahead.
felt,
This is different one.
since you guys, among all your majors, the one you won the most was obviously World Cyber Games. You won the 3 gold medals, which obviously no one else ever did in history. I actually always got the vibe as well that you guys did. Another reason why World Cyber Games was big for you is because to win, you also represent your country, right? You're not just representing yourself. If you win, Poland gets to win the tournament and be the number one in. That was a big deal to you, right?
Like that was the rule of WCG, right? Like we could, like the only national teams could play, but yeah, we were representing Poland at the same time, and we had a fan base behind us supporting us. But at the same time, we didn't think about coming into tournament as a the Polish national team or
Right.
anything like that. This was just another tournament for us with the like higher quality and
Sure.
the bigger value, right? So yeah, that's the answer. But like there was not a maybe a national point behind it or whatever you can call it. We were fighting for ourselves
Right.
mostly, but we were also we knew that like if we're gonna win those tournaments, it's gonna support our community to grow, and it really support our community to grow. Not only the CS like part of esport in Poland, but also we got messages from League of Legends
Oh, right.
players which were supporting us, which came into esport because they started watching us and so on. So I think we had some influence on how the esport grow in Poland, not as much as Virtus.pro later after the IEM Katowice trophy. But yeah, I think we were the ones who started like all this hype on esport in Poland.
When you guys came to the last IEM of CS 1.6, the major, the ones that you guys won as the last major, right? The story, if people forget on this was like a movie because it was a rematch of the previous year's IEM final. The previous year, you played Navi. It was even the exact same maps, but they beat you and they got to win the major. At the time, they were on their own streak of winning majors. And as you say, they obviously had a similar style of setup to your team because they actually based the recruitment on that. To beat them in this one, I mean, were you guys thinking of the fact that it was a rematch, a replay of the previous year? Like it's the last mid? Were any of these factors going on there? I think it was a pretty epic game to win.
Yeah, we were thinking that we want to get our revenge on them, like because we, like you said, we lost the final in the previous year. But I feel like the bigger factor was that we knew that this IEM gonna be the last big CS
Yes.
1.6 tournament, and we wanted to like mark our name on the trophy mostly because of that. We want to be the last major champion in 1.6, and that was our main focus there. And yeah, like I remember from that final that Pasha played really sick during the whole tournament, and especially in the final, he single-handedly won us like many crucial runs, which had huge impact on the on the scoreline. So like the main reasoning for us to win that trophy was like this is the last tournament, and we want to be the final boss of the Counter-Strike 1.6.
Was there, in the time when the team changed to Pasha, before these last two majors at the end of the game that you won, that was almost like at the end of 2 years at this point in time, was there any time in between when the team hadn't yet won the big tournament and so the new lineup hasn't had its ultimate success? I know fans always actually used to just say, just kick Pasha and bring back Luke. They just wanted to go back to the old lineup because in their brain they thought that'll make us win. Did the team ever actually consider that? Was that ever a real possibility if you hadn't have won?
No, that was never put into consideration. Right. Once we decided to work with Pasha, we tried to find a way how to implement him into the team. We never consider bringing back Luke, especially after what happened after there was.
Is it the story where he supposedly stole the money or something, right? Didn't he steal the prize money or something weird?
No, it's not about this, but it is more about Luke came to kind of Polish internet.
Oh,
TV,
did he flame people on broadcast or something?
And he fully flamed. Flamed the team.
Right.
Mostly it was on TaZ, to be precise. So that was never an option to bring him back. That was not a nice it was just not possible at all.
Sure.
There was no way that we can bring him back into the team. We wanted to stick with Pasha as well at the same time, and it was just a matter of finding a way how to properly use Jarek.
As you say, one of the things people maybe don't remember is, one, when CSGO came out, it initially was a much smaller esports scene. I mean, in fact, at the time, if people don't remember, it wasn't even in IEM. It was in the sub-brand. It was in that EMS one, which was the lower down one. And obviously, there was way less tournaments. I remember actually, even a lot of the tournaments NIP won, you would win $10,000 or $5,000. Whereas back in the day, that would have been third place at a tournament you would go to, or fourth place or something, So the prize money was obviously a lot lower. Obviously, also, your team didn't swap immediately. You played out the rest of 1.6 like Na'Vi and Fnatic and tried to win the tournaments. When CSGO came along and the money was less and the opportunities less and the team was just worse, did you actually just straight up consider I retire completely from esports? Was it a consideration?
The thing is, it wasn't just about the money and the prize pools, because we kind of believe that the prize pools will eventually go higher with the time passing. But the bigger problem we faced during that time was that we felt like the game is unplayable. It was not just us; it was many other players, including Zonic, for example, other big names, which say that this game doesn't have a future. But back then, no one knew what Valve is planning. That they are they will make the game that big. We did put into consideration quitting esport fully, and actually Kuben did that. I took a break for a long time. TaZ, NEO and Pasha decided to give it another chance, and that was the time when also there were some rumors that Valve is planning something, that they will come up with something big. I think that the only team which knew about it was at the very start NIP, that they had some much more insights than the other teams. But eventually other teams learned that, and so did NEO, TaZ, and Pasha, and they decided that they will give it one more shot in different lineup, and I guess it was worth it for them.
Okay, you hinted at it earlier, but let me ask the question now. When this team came to dissolve and they made the different choice to reform and use the Bialy and Snacks lineup, and obviously everyone knows what happened after that, as you said, the difference is Cuban also got left out, and he was put to one side, but because he got to come back a year or two later as the coach, and obviously now he's famous again, I don't think he's very bitter about it. I think he's okay with it now. Did you feel at the time, I mean, you implied, like you felt hurt by this, or the way that it broke apart, or maybe when you were treated, did you feel like you were hard done by it?
Well, I know for a fact that I was also put it into like consideration of being the coach for that team.
Right.
But the thing is that I don't know if anyone remember, but I also blame TaZ for what happened a little bit. That I put too much on my shoulders. That I shouldn't let him stay in the spotlight. So we kind of created the similar tension to what he had with Luke before.
Right.
So, like, I was not an option. Like, even if maybe Pasha would like or NEO would like to work with me again, I was not an option because TaZ would never let me come back into the team again. So the obvious choice for them was Cuban, right? Who was in-game leading, who was also creating strats, and he was just a better fit. Like, there was no space for me, like mainly because of my bad story with TaZ.
A few years later, you yourself became a coach and you were coaching up the Polish teams famously. And here's the question I have for you, Loord. First of all, it would be, were you someone who wanted to be a coach? Is it something that was interesting to you? Did you just happen to do it to have a job? What was it like back then? What was the initial idea?
I tried to come back playing for a while, but the thing is that I didn't feel so much enjoyment anymore. Like, I didn't enjoy playing the game like I did in 1.6, and I also stopped feeling this fire inside of me, which will push me, forward to grind the game. I just knew that as a player, I'm not gonna give the team what the team needs. But I knew that I have the experience to maybe help the other Polish guys to like create a team, to help them develop, to like learn them about all the important stuff about building team, about how the team works, how the like team routine is, what is important in like putting all the pieces together, right? So like this is where I tried to find my like future role. Like it was at the same time that like the team asking me if maybe I want to do it, like maybe if I want to help them, and like I decided that like why not. And during that time the coach role was coming to life, I would say. Like it wasn't that popular. Like I feel like I am one of the Actually, I could be one of the
I think you're one of the first ones.
The first ones, right? But yes. I never had a chance to work like outside of Poland. I stick maybe too long in the Polish scene.
Right.
So I'm not putting into consideration these days. I should leave the Polish scene much earlier, and that's what I think was my mistake actually. But yeah, like transition to coach from a player was a very natural thing for me. Once I get back to playing, also I started to in-game leading because that was also something natural for me, that I got the most experience. Okay, I will start to lead the team, and my teams even played in minors. How do you call it, RMR now, right? Like there are RMRs, but like before it was minors. So I played in 2 minors. We lost in some games which could decide about our future. One of them was, I remember, against KD Stars, which later on became...
the Fallen team, right, okay.
Yeah, the Fallen team, that was in Katowice, actually. Then this is where Flusha donated them to come to the tournament, if you remember that story. So, yeah, we were one of the team they defeated. It was a pretty close game on Nuke. we were even winning like 10-5, and we lost 16-3 or something like this. And the funny thing is that we played with full random Polish guy who was not even playing CS, and he was just supporting us financially. So he was basically putting his money into the team in change of playing into the team. But he was like a totally new to the game. Yeah, but that CS was wild back in the days. Like I can't imagine something.
No, it's ridiculous. Sure.
This is ridiculous, but that's true. Like that's a true story. If you want, you can check it by yourself.
I feel like the story, when I talk about the teams you coached that were the Polish lineups, it reminds me of what I said earlier about 1.6. That people might not know because, again, these players didn't accomplish what Virtus.pro did. Maybe people think, I guess Virtus.pro were the only good Polish players. But I remember if I go back and I'm looking through some of these lineups now, Loord, a bunch of these players were good. Like I remember one point, there was actually I know eventually he literally did play in international teams, but I know a bunch of Western teams actually thought Innocent was good and tried to get him into their teams. If people know Sparrow, the Orpa was pretty good. Mihu obviously later did get to play in Virtus.pro briefly and some other teams. Like there was some good players in these teams. There was some talent, right? Are there some names that stand out that were good players or underrated? What do you think held these players back from accomplishing bigger things?
Like we had some good players individually, but they were lacking the game understanding. There were some players which were also thinking a lot about the game, how they can create lineups. It wasn't just us, but there was another team coming out from Source, and there was a guy called Hyper.
Sure.
Like he's supposed to be the guy playing for Virtus.pro.
Right.
He's instead of Bialy, but he couldn't find a common ground with Snacks.
Right.
And he decided to leave, but he was I would say the guy who could create something good, and he did create a team which later on played twice in the major. He helped to develop that team. We had some talented players, but they were lacking the experience, maybe the full commitment to the game. Yeah. That's what I think.
What about, there was the one tournament I wanted to ask about, which is when you were coaching, it was when they were King Win, you had that WESG event where you guys famously beat Virtus.pro, the Poles, even though they were supposed to, by the way, they thought they were just going to win this event easy because obviously the team in the final was Envy. And I know actually that really pisses them off, by the way, dude, because to them it's like they just threw whatever, $300,000 or whatever down the drain. Like they could have probably won this. This is when they were the best team in the world if people don't remember. Like this was a pretty epic upset. Do you remember this match?
Yeah, of course I remember. One of my goals when I started coaching Kinguin back then was get my revenge on the Virtus.pro.
Right.
I eventually got that.
Sure.
And we our lineup was the first one whoever won offline against them. They
never Polish teams, yeah.
They never lost against Polish team offline before us. And that was during the pretty important event, let's say, maybe not the most important one, but the one with the highest prize.
Loads of money,
ever.
Yeah.
Like that, at that point, that tournament had the highest prize pool ever. So that was painful for them. Like people are saying that it is Mercedes who killed Virtus.pro. But
the Mercedes, yeah, sure.
But I feel like we also put a little nail into the coffin, at least for Victor, who later came to Kinguin to play with me.
Yeah, that's actually something I also want to ask. If people don't know, not only did TaZ play, actually towards the end, even NEO did for a while, right? It must be a bit weird coaching the players you played with for so long. Was it a weird dynamic?
Well, that's why I decided to leave the team, because there was too much players with high voice. Like I could handle TaZ alone, but like when there was TaZ, NEO, I just found out that I don't feel like there is a space for me anymore in this team.
Right.
And it was not just me leaving the team, it was also the other Polish opera minis leaving the team at that point. I left right after 2 or 3 weeks as well, and also Ralan left the team. They had to build it again. I just felt like there is no space for myself in such lineup.
What about did you, when you had these players, like this is when they're quite late in their careers, they've been playing a long time, and obviously like they kept playing a few years more. It's only recently they all became coaches the last couple of years, right? There's no way to ask this question without it sounding rude, Loord. At the time that you had them as players, they obviously weren't as good as they were before, right? Were they a bit washed? Was their game level lower? What was the reason why they couldn't be good players anymore? What do you think? It's too old?
I think it started earlier during Virtus.pro period. Like, beside the fact that they were getting older and the reflex was maybe not here as well, but they still had the games anyway. But my point is that I feel like it started way before in Virtus.pro, where they had to adapt to Snags, to Bialy. They had to kind of they had to do what I did when Pasha came to our lineup before.
Oh, right,
so
yes.
They had to adapt. They had to give the youngers more freedom. So this is where you're gonna, like, you want it or not, you're gonna lose the confidence. Like people will see the stats. They will see that, okay, this guy is not bringing the numbers anymore. Like, we should kick him. Like, we should like the team. I mean, the team should consider.
Fafan was saying it, yeah, sure,
him.
yes.
That's how the things are working. But like in reality, they were giving more space to the younger guys because they just wanted to bring in the results, which they did. Like they did won a fair amount of tournaments and like much bigger prize pool combined to, like, if you compare it to what we won in 1.6, but they never won as many major tournaments as we did. But
no.
It's hard to measure these two things because these were totally different times, and
of course
I feel like also the competition was higher, and that they really played well, and at some point they were the best team in the world. Until they like TaZ posted something like this. I don't know if that was, until then they were like there were plenty of like periods where they were really strong contender, like even the top one, like the best in the world.
By the way, one thing I want to ask you goes like this. Even though I appreciate all that you said there, like I actually do agree. I actually think NEO and TaZ did sort of like become the role players and set Bialy and Snags and Pasha up to be the stars and give them the resources. But one thing that did always shock me, I can't even lie, I was a huge fan of NEO 1.6. Like for me, I actually did I thought he was better than Forrest. I thought Forrest had amazing aim, but like it's like you said, NEO just had everything, mate. He controlled the game, very smart. He can even, one thing underrated, he can even AWP as well. He can use all the weapons. Like it's just the ultimate player for me. So when I would watch him in CSGO, he was still a good player in CSGO. Like actually there was times where he was winning the big clutches, he was in big matches, having big performances. But for me, CSGO NEO was nothing like 1.6 NEO. But I always used to almost be waiting, like thinking like, he can still do it though. If he just gets it together, you'll see the old player. But I feel like I never fully did in CSGO. What did you think? You got to coach him, watch him. How would you compare him to what he was in 1.6?
I think he even said himself that he don't enjoy playing CSGO that much as he enjoyed playing CS 1.6, right? Like the movement was not there anymore. Like that was his biggest strength. So like he couldn't play the game the way he loved to. He couldn't play the game he enjoyed to playing, right? Like he had to adapt. He had to learn all the things, all the tricks over and over again, and then I feel like that this just the mechanics of the CSGO were not fitting Philip that well as like the Half-Life mechanics were. So like that's the biggest difference in my opinion. Yeah, that's what I think at least. But he was still delivering like good numbers. Like he was still a decent player, and like he was using his experience, same as TaZ,
Sure.
for the team to like I say, to give also space for the others, but also to build up that winning mentality inside the team. So they were priceless for the team. Maybe they were not that shining as much as they were before, but like obviously they were the crucial parts of the team.
The funny thing is, I actually think that story, the notorious story about the Mercedes and how people think it broke the team up, I would just say, I think that just shows how crazy the development of esports is. Think about in this interview, we were talking about back in 10 years earlier, when like to even get salary was a big deal in a Polish team. And then 10 years later, they're getting it was famous, everyone knew they would get like $20,000 a month salary, then they're winning the prize money, and then one of them gets a Mercedes as well after a tour. Like, that would like blow anyone's mind at 1.6. That's actually crazy that the game got this huge, right?
Yeah, the game the game became huge. Right after Valve decided to add the
skins and stuff in the majors,
skins, stuff like the weapons,
Yes.
and all the pages came up, the casinos, and like even the gambling side. It's like there was plenty of new potential financials coming into the esports, right? Like so, like I feel like at some point before Valve decided to limit it a little bit, esport was even overwhelmed with money.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
There is still tons of money in esport, but I feel like there was even more before. So I don't know. You probably have like a better knowledge than me about it. But that's what I feel like, right? Like there was plenty of money because what Valve did to the game with the weapons and like the gambling, and like everyone started suddenly to speed up. That like there were more and more tournaments, bigger and bigger for like prize pools. The areas where the players were playing were getting also bigger and bigger, and it was growing really fast.
I've got another slightly awkward question. So let's see how we do with this one. It goes like this, right? If someone has a really, really famous rock band, like, Led Zeppelin or some really huge rock band everyone knows. Maybe Led Zeppelin's not the best example because in that band everyone was famous, but think of like any band in history, it's a metal band or a rock band, right? I would say fans are pretty cynical. What they really tend to love is they love like the guitarist and the lead singer. So as long as those people stay the same, you could do like 10 different drummers or bass players, and the fans probably still just going to be a fan of the same band. They might not even actually know that much about like the people. So you can see where I'm going with this analogy, right? Do you ever feel like people forget about you? I mean, I think Cuban also gets this treatment too. Do you ever feel like fans, they know NEO and TaZ, they know Pasha, maybe because of CSGO, they obviously know Snacks and Bialy, they were star players. Do you think fans sometimes forget about you and the role you played in helping these teams? Because you won a lot of world championships in 1.6, mate. You won a lot of majors.
I like that. The thing is that the community changed, and the like people which were following the scene back in the days like are now much older.
Sure.
If you compare it to the like industry we have now and the community we have now, most of these players which are following CS2 or previously CSGO were not really familiar with what happened before, like what happened in 1.6, and also the player number were like raised, like I don't know how much, 10 times comparing.
It's quite a lot, yeah.
Maybe even more, right? So you have like a full new generation of players, full new community. So I don't really. I'm not really envy that people don't remember me. What I am envy for is maybe that I envy that I wish I could have a chance to coach again a proper team, because like recently it doesn't feel like this. Like we are getting to the a bit sad part of my career, but this is how it is right now. Like it's like after Kinguin, I have to say it is like a going downhill.
Oh,
for
right.
me. Like
Right.
that's how I feel, and it all started from the coach back, I would say, and this is still affecting me a lot. And yeah, like I had a good period in Kinguin, but nowadays it's not that bright as it could be, right? Like that's what I maybe regret.
Okay.
But that's it. But I don't really regret that people are not,
Oh, okay.
standing in the podek of Katowice with, Loord sign
Sure.
on
Sure.
the paper. Come
Okay.
back, bro. We need
Okay.
you. No, I don't really miss that.
One last question I've realised I should ask you is this. How would you like people to remember you as a player? What would you like them to think of when they think of Loord the player?
I would like them to think about me as a part of the team which was the most successful in the history of 1.6, and as someone who was also not only an anchor but also who was in charge of creating the whole structure, the whole the vision how the team should play together with Kuben, but also with the rest of the guys. But I don't feel like I'm getting any credit for that.
Right.
It feels like I was just there sitting, playing, doing the shit rolls, and yeah, that was me. But that's not fully the truth. That's not how the things were. So yeah, I would like them to remember me in that way.
Yeah, right. So at the end of the interview, do you have a final message? Is there anyone you'd like to thank or say hello to?
Yeah, I would like to thank my fiancé for sure for supporting me during the recent months, which are not the best ones during my esport career, and I would like to thank all the people who gave me the chance to like prove myself, and for the one who didn't give me but maybe will in the future.
Okay. Dziękuję.
Dziękuję.
Don't you know I'm still standing better than I ever did? And that's in part thanks to my Patreon community, the Illuminati. So this video was kindly supported by Frisky, Matt Pugnaccio Rakula, Ahmed Haju, Jensen Gore, Tobias Bernasconi, Adam Tomlin, Animosity, Toucan, Tosh, and you know it if you've ever seen my videos before. If you don't get to know it, because a special thanks goes out to my main man, Jerky's Minion. Want to ask a question for my video AMA? Do you want to suggest a topic or a guest? Maybe you want to see who the upcoming guests are on my shows, on my interviews. Or do you want to be part of one of those lengthy esports discussions where you set the table of topics? Well, if any of those perks or others catch your fancy, put your money where your mouth is and join the Illuminati today, where? Via the Patreon link in the description box.